you've read a single book. Like I said, if you've read a single book, then you did good this year. So congratulations to you. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my end-of-the-year wrap-up. It's time, folks. I'm going to go ahead and make the disclaimer that I did read 705 books this year, and if your criticisms of that involve it was probably childhood books so they don't count, DNFs don't count, picture books don't count, manga doesn't count, you're lying, you did it for clout. If any of that is your commentary about this video, I formally request that you go ahead and exit because I am tired of the conversation. That's my disclaimer, and I mean it as kindly as possible to the people who mean it in a nice way, but to the people who think I'm delusional, I don't mean it nicely to you. That's all. That's my disclaimer. I don't know why it has to be said, but it does. Okay, let's get this show on the road. I'm really excited to talk about the stats. Did I manage to make my 2022 spreadsheet in time to share with you guys? No. Am I going to try and somehow wrangle that together soon? Yes. I make no promises though. So if I did manage to make it, it will be in the comments down below, or in the description box below. If I didn't manage to make it, it won't be there. So that's that. Let's get into the numbers though. First, obviously, like I said, I read 705 books this year. In January, I read 41 books, February, 50, March, 58, May, nope, I skipped a month, April, 40, May, 82, June, 96, July, 96, Jesus Christ, July, 66, August, 58, September, 73, October, 56, November, 54, and December I only read 30 books because I had made the decision to read less books. I always do better in summer than I do in the winter time. I know that. Texas only has 2 seasons, hot and cold. When it's hot, I read more. When it's cold, I don't. I couldn't tell you why. It is what it is. I read a total of 209,666 pages. I listened to 224 days, 2 hours and 12 minutes worth of audiobooks. And I checked out a total of 343 library books. Did I say audiobook or library books when I was talking about how much I listened? I meant audiobooks. Checked out 343 library books. Any other books that weren't checked out from the library, I probably borrowed. I do not own 400 books, obviously. I most likely just borrowed it from a friend or family member. For formats, I read 469 audiobooks, 159 ebooks, and 69 physical books. I know that doesn't surprise any of you, that I predominantly consume books through audio form, and this year especially has been, I'm only able to consume them through audio form. I know that that's not a surprise to anybody, but it is what it is, and audiobook reading is the same thing as visual reading. It's still consumption of literature, and if you disagree, that's probably ableism. You're probably got an ableist take, so you need to check yourself on that one. For audiences for those books, I read 208 adult books. Honestly, that number surprised me. I didn't expect that I had read so many adult books. I think it's because I was like slamming those Terry Brooks books and trying to finish that entire series. I read 1 new adult book, 50 middle grade books, and 437 young adult books. Not a surprise, obviously. The middle grade actually surprised me. I expected to have read more. For author diversity, or lack thereof, I read 512 cisgendered authors, 420 white authors, 195 queer authors, 193 gender nonconforming authors, 171 people of color, 80 neurodiverse, and 74 debut authors. For book diversity, 211 of the books had a focus on had a focus specifically on LGBTQ characters. 191 of them had a focus on people of color. 181 of them mental illness, 94 of them had neurodiverse characters, and 72 of them had disabled characters. And for genre breakdown, these numbers kind of surprised me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I know this is like a lot of stats and people are just like, okay, you're just spouting off numbers, what's the point? I personally love hearing about what people read a lot of, so anyway. 320 of the books I read this year were fantasy. Who's shocked? Not me. Fantasy is almost always my number one genre. I like fantasy more than I like anything else. It is what it is. 87 of the books were sci-fi, 81 were thrillers, 75 were horror, which are different. 57 were contemporary, which shocked me, and 54 were romance. And I deserve an award for that because I don't like romance, and this year changed my mind about that a little bit. I don't mind romance, I'm just very picky about what romance I read, so. Then 39 were graphic novels, 28 were historical books, 54 were retellings, and I still don't think that number's right. 22 were dystopians, 19 were paranormal, 9 were mysteries, 1 was a biography, and 1 was nonfiction, and I'm pretty sure those were the same book. For funsies, I also included this year, which was really difficult to include and get this number, but I have my top 5 publishers that I've read from. This doesn't always include like imprints and stuff. It's very hard to, because they have so many imprints, and that's something that's also making my bringing these stats to you guys, like bringing the Google spreadsheet, so difficult, is because I want to make sure that I'm doing the publisher part of that justice, but it is very difficult. I read, my top publisher was Penguin Random House, then Macmillan Publishers, then Hachette Books, Simon & Schuster, and then Disney Hyperon. I was kind of surprised that Tor or Del Rey were not in my top 5, but I think it's because they're under, I think they're both under Macmillan. So I think it's because they're both under Macmillan, but I'm not 100% sure if they still are under Macmillan or if they were when I first started the 2022 thing. So, but I think they are. I don't know. I'm not sure. Once again, the publisher part of this was a little bit difficult, but it seemed like fun, and then after I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is very complicated, but now I'm already dedicated, so here I am. For rating breakdowns, my average rating this year was a 3.8, which is considerably lower than the 4 point whatever it was last year. I have been a lot more brutal about how I review books this year. I've been a lot more honest about how I review books this year, and I've been disappointed a lot more this year. Like, I've genuinely put books down and not had to think about like whether I liked it or not. It was just like, how badly did I dislike this? Did I 2 stars dislike it or 1 star dislike it? There was a lot of that this year. So I don't know if it's because the books were worse or if because my reviewing got better. I don't know. But here's that breakdown. 192 of the books were 5-star reads, 264 of them were 4-star reads, 151 were 3, 55 of them were 2-star reads, 15 were 1-star reads, and 14 of them I DNF'd, which out of 705 books to only DNF 14 is kind of impressive, I think, personally. And then the more interesting part to me is how many books I acquired purchasing wise, and this is not including gifts, this is not including book boxes, because I don't include book boxes, like monthly book boxes, because that goes under a completely different budgeting thing, and if I added it to this number it would be very confusing to me. This is just books that I bought. I bought 55 books. I spent $846.80. I want next year to lower that number to under 500. That is my goal. That does not include Audible either, to be clear, because I only buy Audible through the credits that I get monthly, so that doesn't include that through that subscription either. That is just like physical books and ebooks that I purchased. I want to lower the cost down by half. I don't really care about the number of books because I know that I read all of the books that I buy, so it's not really a concern to me about how many books I've bought. So I don't know why I'm like, ooh. I think it's just because that number, that cost number is really high, but I did the math and it's about $15 a book, between $15 and $16 a book, and since I predominantly buy hardback books, that's actually not that unusual for them to be that expensive. They're usually between $15 and $18 unless I'm buying them in store. So that's kind of the gist there, is I buy hardback and they're more expensive, and I know that. So that's it. That is my wrap up for the year. I do have my top 10 and my worst 10 books. I think they're coming out after this video. I believe you'll get top 10 first and then bottom 10 next. So that will, normally in my wrap-ups, my monthly wrap-ups, I give you my top 5 books and my worst book of the month. I am not doing a December wrap-up because it is included in this year-end wrap-up and I don't want to confuse myself and try and make that timing work out. So you won't get my worst and best book for December, but I do have my top and worst books of the year in coming out soon on YouTube. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. If you are curious about how to read more, I have a video talking about that. I think I might make another video talking about it with some updated things, or at least explaining how I read books and how I annotate them and how I take notes on them and how I review them and what my process is. And I might make a video on that, an updated video, just because I know that people who are being genuinely kind are actually curious about how I manage to do the reading that I do. Disclaimer, I work in tech, so I'm capable of listening to books while I'm working the whole time, just because it uses a completely different part of my brain, and I listen to books on 3 times speed. So both of those things taken into account means that I have a lot more time to read than a lot of people, and I work from home, so I just have a lot more time to read. I can read for about 9 hours straight every single day, listening to books on 3 times speed. And I think if you take that into account, it makes more sense about how I'm able to read as much. I'm also of a mind that if you read 1 book this year, then you're great, you did great, good for you. So this isn't a competition, these are just my numbers, and I really like the way that stats look. I don't want anyone to feel bad about themselves, I don't want anybody to be upset with me. I do feel these disclaimers are necessary. The ones in the beginning of the video, they're mostly out of like, hey, don't bully me because you can't fathom reading as much as that. I understand that it is a very wild number, but please don't be mean to me because of that. That's rude. You know, all of that. But the disclaimer of this is not a competition. I don't even update my Goodreads goal once I hit 400. I think I stopped changing it because I just don't care. I just think the numbers are really interesting, and I really love seeing the way that the stats have broken down and like how my reviewing has changed year over year. So there's that. Anyway, I'm gonna go. That was a lot of rambling. I just don't want anybody to feel sad about how much they read this year. I think that if you read a single book, like I said, if you read a single book, then you did good this year. So congratulations to you. And congratulations to everybody else who either met their reading goals or tried really hard to meet them. Amazing, fantastic. Reading is so good for your brain, so you did good. You did good, friend. Good job. I'm gonna go though. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, all of that stuff. Do something today to take care of yourself. Pat yourself on the back if you read this year, 2021. It's been a long fucking year, y'all, so even if you didn't read, I get it, but it's been a year. I will see you guys again next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share like I said before. If you didn't like this video, let me know how I can make it better for you, okay? Have a great rest of your day. Okay, thanks, bye.